Look at my notes. Been making notes about my screenplay going on.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, man.
Ooh, how's that going?
Completely beat sheeted as of today.
Nice.
Um, Almost done with Act One.
Wow. Way to go, man. That's
It is.
delicious.
It's a slog though when it starts, man.
Yeah.
I forgot how much.
It's it's a never-ending battle.
It really
Never-ending
is.
mental battle. I started reading this book today about getting published and stuff. And
Mm,
of course, like, the opening bits are about like finding the time to write and doing all that, just all the
yeah,
stuff that you already know. It's just
yeah. It's just putting it into practice.
it is, and
That's
it
the hard part.
and it really is like if you can just find the time to write and get the scenes written, then just getting the revisions done is so much easier because you've done the work. It's just the hardest
Yeah,
part is just committing to not letting yourself be distracted.
right.
Yeah.
You know, the breakthrough that I had for the first time, and again, I haven't really written like this in a long time.
Hmm.
And the breakthrough that I had was, why do I have to write in order? Like I've always imposed that on
Yeah.
myself, like, oh, I have a scene in mind, but I have to write to it and then I can write it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why? Why can't it? This is just a first draft. Why can't I just write the scene and I'll revise it. It'll attach to what I write when I write the scene before it. I just need to get it on paper. Like there's no sense in waiting until I'm at the point to put it on paper. Like put it on paper. You have the idea now.
Right, exactly. And like you can worry about the seams later.
Yes, right, exactly.
Like no one's gonna see how messy it started out.
They don't film movies in order. Why do I have to write them in order?
Right. I remember when I first like was introduced to the concept that movies were shot out of sequence. I was like,
Yeah,
whoa. Like that was the most
yeah,
mind blowing thing about movie making to me in the
hmm
beginning,
yeah,
whenever the beginning was,
yeah, yeah.
oh my God, they don't have to shoot this in order. Because, when you make your own movies as a kid, you shoot it in sequence
You
because in
shoot
your
it in
mind,
order.
you want like continuity of like
Yep.
emotional continuity.
Yeah.
But then it's like, oh no, like a whole new step to this is doing that out of order. And then the
Mm.
actors having to orient themselves. Like it was always amazing. They're like, yeah, the death scene at the end, we shot that the first day. It's like, how?
How?
How
Yeah,
did you do
yeah,
that? Why did
yep.
you do that? Why did you put
Exactly.
the actor through that? Was that the only day that such and such person could be there? Like, how do you like?
Yeah.
It's just, and then of course we went to college. Welcome to HooperCast, everybody. Um, so at a certain point, like we go to college and you learn all about like scheduling and budgeting and
Yeah.
all the priorities and factors that go into like you
Yeah.
know why would you schedule it such a way? Like, when I don't remember if there was a certain how like there's um, the order of operations in mathematics.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know that there's an order of operations in filmmaking when it comes to like a general rule of thumb for scheduling a movie and scheduling a production.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like when we took that pre-production class,
Yeah.
that's when it kind of like opened up to me and it's like, oh yeah, scheduling is super important.
Yeah.
And like, okay, I'm gonna have Samuel L. Jackson on set, but I'm not gonna pay for him to be there for 3 months and I only need him for a few scenes
For
here and
four
there.
days. Yeah.
Like, we're gonna shoot all of those in one go.
Yeah.
And it's like so
So
I
if you're
have to make
shooting
sure
those
that he's
scenes,
here and
yeah.
that all the other people that he's interacting with are here and we've got that set ready, the location ready. We've got everything, like just the logistics of getting all of that together blew my mind. And I'm like, man, pre-production's tough, dude.
And you have to like you have to have several iterations. Like, all right, here's the cheapest option, here's the fastest option, here's
Yeah,
and you have to
yeah,
just I don't. It's weird because when we were in college, like, I came in, I was like, I want to direct and I don't want to worry about all that like
yeah.
logistical BS. And now I'm like, I want to schedule all of this. I want to like, I would completely own scheduling a film shoot now.
It's so strange. Like it's basically same thing for me. Like
Yeah.
I went in and I'm like,
Both of our jobs are
I want to direct,
heavily lean on like
schedule.
a right brained,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Make it
logistical
happen.
puzzle pieces. But we're
Exactly.
both writers as the creative expression,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, what happened to me in film school was like you, I went in, I'm a director, right?
Yeah.
I want to tell the story. I'm a director.
Yeah.
And then I started to realize like you know what? I really don't want the headache of dealing with being a director. I want to tell a story, and the first person that tells that story is a screenwriter. So I'm going to
Yeah.
write. And so I started writing. And then as the years have gone on, it's like, I feel like I could do the actual producing part of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I had that in me then. And I'm honestly, what scared me then was coming up with money.
Yeah.
Like that was the thing.
Yeah.
Like when we all had to do our senior thesis films, I remember like the
Oh,
internal struggle
boy.
of, do I direct it or do I write it?
Yeah.
Because I thought, if I direct it, like I've got to have
I have to pay for all
money and
this. Yeah.
locations, and or I've got to find a producer, but even still, like I've got to have money.
Yeah.
If I just write it, like, no, I can sit at home and write, and like that was the thing.
And I almost went the writing route, but then it was like, but I'd have to
Mm,
write a feature and I'd have
yep.
to make sure it's interesting enough for one of these like
Yep.
real directors who go to school here to
Hmm.
want to shoot my little dumb story,
Sure.
or I fail.
Right.
So
Or you write a feature like I did,
yeah,
and well,
that's right.
I
Yeah,
take
that's
that
right. A
back.
short would get shot. A feature
A
could just
short
be,
had to get
yeah,
shot, but
that's
the
right.
feature, yeah, the
Yeah.
feature, I wrote a feature which ended up morphing into a pilot of a mini series, and they were gracious enough to let me do that. Like it was still feature length. It was a feature
Yeah.
length pilot, and it was a lot of fun to write. But I've always felt like it was incomplete because I didn't write the end of it. You know what I mean? Like I wrote the
Yeah.
pilot, and so it feels very strange looking back on it, like almost like I got out of doing an actual project. Like I pulled one over on everybody.
There were that was forward thinking of them because like, a feature length pilot, but now with like
Yeah,
streaming services, it's like,
sure, why not?
yeah, that's totally normal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
But yeah, man, like who knows what the future holds?
well, it holds many interesting things. Speaking of writing and streaming and all these other things,
Hmm.
welcome listeners to our show. And this is where we talk about movies and TV and writing and creating and the film landscape in general. So,
Yeah.
we are going to get right into it today. After all that, so not a lot of film news going on, but there's a couple of key things happening. So, we've just to follow up and to keep kind of informing people on what's going on with the 2021 film release slate. We've got this story, and of course, it's people have seen this by now. I saw that this was trending on Twitter. I saw this on like this aired in like the regular ass news.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
From the Hollywood Reporter, Warner Brothers smashes box office windows, will send entire 2021 slate to HBO Max and theaters. So
Mhm.
there's this stories on every film news site, doesn't have to be Hollywood Reporter. And the gist of it is that beginning with Wonder Woman 1984, well, not really beginning with it because that wasn't really part of the 2021 slate, but it pretty much is.
It's
Pretty much
included in the trailer.
okay, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
of course, they don't want people to forget. Um,
right.
but they are going to be releasing every new film they've made. They will be releasing it on HBO Max at the same time as they're releasing it in theaters for 31 days.
Yep.
And after 31 days, they will take it out of theaters, or sorry, take it off Max, and so it's a way for HBO Max subscribers to have an exclusive, chance
Yep.
to view these movies from home if they're not going to go to the theater or if the theater in their town isn't open. And it's also a way to get lots of people to sign up for HBO Max,
Yep.
which is exactly what I finally did in the
Yes.
wake of this announcement. Saying there's like a 20% off 6-month commitment thing, so I
Mm.
took advantage of that as well. So I gave them $70. I now have HBO Max through, was it June?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and we'll see. I mean, half the shows we've been talking about and movies lately have been HBO Max stuff. So
Yep.
anyway, so this is very very interesting news for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's also kind of foreboding, and it really just depends on your outlook.
Hmm.
There's reactions both ways on this, and I am more optimistic about this than others are. I, as a consumer, really am like, cool, because I'm nervous about going to the theaters, and and already I've had issues with theaters, and so from a purely consumer standpoint, I'm excited. Hello again, buddy. I like options. I like having the option to watch them in my home, and of course I love having them on retainer through a
Right.
subscription. But of course, this is not the move that I would have picked for the exhibitors side. I think we had said that what we could have seen happening in the past was, having a 2-week exclusivity window, or pretty much the
Hmm.
reverse of what this is, which is,
Yeah.
if you were to flip this completely upside down, it would be, okay, the theaters get 31 days of exclusivity, and then they
Right.
go on Max like for
Yep.
good,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah.
And the reason is because theaters make the majority of their money in the
Yes.
first 2 weeks
Yep.
of the run.
Yep.
So to take that away from them, it seems either like incredibly like short-sighted or miscalculated and borderline spiteful.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's one of those things where, again, like we've said this before, like I don't know how they're making this money up, and I think about it like this. Okay, let's say that Patty Jenkins negotiated like, a 2% on the back end, a 10% on the back end.
Yeah.
What does that mean for her now? You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm not saying that she did. I'm just saying like that money that theoretically would have gone to her has been yanked away,
Yeah.
in spite of, or in favor of putting it on HBO Max, which presumably makes money, but how that's calculated, I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess technically they could say that Wonder Woman already made $70 from you, but uh, not really. So I don't know how they can really calculate it out. And so, yeah, there's just a lot of questions. But I'm with you. I think as a consumer, this is exciting, right?
Yeah.
Because we have access to this day one.
What this means
Like,
is the HooperCast can be talking about a lot of Warner Brothers movies next year.
super relevant. Like, let me just rattle off this list here.
Yeah.
Starting in January, we have The Little Things, and then Tom and Jerry, then The Many Saints of Newark, then Reminiscence,
Mhm.
Godzilla versus Kong, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, In the Heights, Space Jam, A New Legacy, The Suicide Squad, Dune, King Richard, Matrix 4, Judas and the Black Messiah, Mortal Kombat, Those Who Wish Me Dead, Malignant, Cry Macho. That's a lot of movies that
Yeah.
we just can watch,
Yeah.
day one, and put out a review that very next Tuesday,
Yeah.
or Tuesday.
Yeah.
We recorded the next Monday, put it out. The point is, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? The point is, we can
Wednesday
be super
if you're on
relevant.
Patreon.
Wednesday if you're on Patreon. But it's uh, like that's great as a consumer.
Yeah.
But you're right. As someone who enjoys the theater experience and who firmly believes we will be back at the theaters at some point,
Mhm.
it seems like they've jumped the gun on this. Do it one at a time. Don't do the whole year. It just seems strange. But I understand, it's a great headline for them, to say everybody gets movies, is a great thing, for them to be able to do. So yeah, I'm excited. We'll see what happens.
I'm also kind of. They said it was going to be for 2021 only,
Yes,
so we'll see.
we'll see.
Because if they get a lot of subscribers, or this somehow turns out super well for them, and there's no big downside,
Yeah,
they
who
might just
knows?
go, "Hey, I know we said that, but we're just going to stay." Like,
Yeah,
and
right.
that's mainly what exhibitors are worried about. It's not so much like this single thing, because they could just say, I mean, the exhibitors could just say, "Hey, we're just not going to show the movies." I
Yeah,
mean,
totally.
but the problem is this gives other streaming platforms and studios,
Yeah,
Disney,
yeah,
it gives Disney and others a model to follow,
yes,
that that this is a way, this is what we're doing, and here's, you get to watch how people react to us doing it, so now you can properly judge whether it's worth it for you to go through this or not.
Yep.
So it's bold. I'm gonna call it bold. It is bold. Not
Sure.
not that
And
it's good bold or bad bold. It's just
it's just bold.
it's bold.
And you're right. Like I have no doubt that Disney is going to be watching what Wonder Woman does on
Yeah.
Christmas Day. I mean, they've got Soul to watch as well, but they're going to be watching what happens over on HBO Max that same day, because that's really going to be, I'm not going to say it's the same audience as Black Widow, but
Hmm.
there's a good crossover there.
Yeah.
So, they've said they were going to hold Black Widow till theaters, but I don't know.
Yeah, but
Depends on what happens.
hey, they didn't break their word first. It was Warner Brothers who said in theaters only. They were all snooty about it, and then like 3 weeks later, this happened. This
Never.
wasn't that long
Right.
ago that they were
It really
it
was
was the
not.
Wonder Woman trailer. It was like in
Yep.
theaters
In theaters
exclusively or
only.
whatever.
Yep. And they
Everyone was
doubled
like,
down on it at DC Fandom. They were
oh,
like, "This is gonna be in theaters,"
yeah.
and then they're like, "Oh,
Oh, we shouldn't have said that.
well." I mean, and it still could. Like, I don't know why they're rushing it out. I mean, I
Yeah.
say rushing it out. I mean, it's just sitting on a shelf. But like, I don't know why they're jumping the gun on it and saying like, you know what, fine, we'll just go ahead and release it. It does seem strange, but you know what, it's fine.
They're all
I'll be watching it.
they're also Jamesing the gun on it because the Suicide Squad is among this slate of films for next year.
Yeah.
And so that and Wonder Woman and especially Dune, I'm like so
Yeah.
excited for.
Yeah.
But Lionsgate, you showed me this other story. Lionsgate is
Legendary.
legendary. Sorry,
Legendary. Yep.
Is Lionsgate a thing still, or did they go under?
It is. It is still a thing. Yep.
Woo! Okay.
Yep.
Legendary is apparently considering suing Warner Brothers
Yep.
because they put up a lot of money to make Dune, and Denis Villeneuve.
Roughly 75% of the production budget of at least Godzilla versus Kong,
Yeah.
but I would assume Dune as well.
Yeah, hundreds of millions of dollars that Legendary has spent to make those films with the expectation that they were opening in wide global release.
Yep.
And Denis Villeneuve is pissed, and other people
Yep.
are pissed, and they're like, "This film should be seen in theater." And again, like and the article goes into a lot of weeds about the back end deals like you're talking about, and like just a lot of ways that Warner Brothers possibly didn't think this through, or didn't care, or are super under pressure by shareholders, and they really just are afraid to, take no action because there's people who expect these movies to get released somehow.
Yeah.
But they're like, well, we're against the wall because like the theaters can't be open in a lot of cities,
Right.
and we can't make them open. So it's like, okay, cool. Well, we got to get them. This has to translate into dollars at some point. And it's so weird because it's just this strange push pull caterpillar accordion move of like, do people not realize that like I understand you made an investment, but there's a huge thing happening around the world that's affecting everyone's money. You know that, right? And I feel like there's like a monopoly guy going like, I don't care.
Right.
I don't
Yes,
care.
exactly. I don't care, good sir.
Yeah, like what's his face is like dead from the Great Mouse Detective. I don't care.
I don't care. Alan Young.
Yeah. Flavisham. You build me, you make me that movie, Flavisham. Oh, it will be your daughter. I'll take your daughter. She'll never
Dude,
return.
I haven't seen that movie since we were in college.
I don't care.
I don't care.
But like, it's so it's weird that they're like pressuring them so much. It's just like, I know you want your money, but like, what do you expect me to do? And if it were me, I'd be like, yeah, we could put it on streaming, but once again, how are we supposed to make money off of this? And more importantly for you, sir, the aggressor, how do you expect to make your money back on this platform that can't possibly give us, if the platform could give us this much money, we would have ditched the theaters 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So like, why are you pushing this thing that is not going to do the whole thing?
And that's the thing, especially when all you have to do is wait. Like, yes, I understand the wait might be a year, maybe it's a year and a half, but all you have to do is wait, and then all that money is yours, just like normal.
It could all be yours. But no, you're right. That sucks. At the same time, the filmmakers have to be understanding too. It's not just the investors who need to be like, oh yeah, like we need to be realistic about this. It's also like if Denis Villeneuve's in front of me, like, but my movie, I'd be like,
Yeah.
listen, I get it, but if you want people to see it, you need to just let this happen because you're gonna wait forever. And what if this gets worse? I mean,
Right. Well,
and that's
so
the thing with that article was like they keep talking about the vaccine, the vaccine, the vaccine. It's like, okay, but a lot of people may not take the vaccine. The vaccine may not.
yeah.
It's not in time for these movies to open during Oscar season.
Right. So yeah, and that's a good segue into this article that I found for where Christopher Nolan responded to it.
Yeah.
And I'll just read his quote really quick.
Mhm.
So he was asked like, what do you think? And he expressed his disbelief like this. He says, "There's such controversy around it because they didn't tell anyone. In 2021, they've got some of the top filmmakers in the world. They've got some of the biggest stars in the world who've worked for years in some cases on these projects very close to their hearts that are meant to be big screen experiences. They're meant to be out there for the widest possible audiences, and now they're being used as a loss leader for the streaming service, for the fledgling streaming service, without any consultation. So there's a lot of controversy. It's very, very, very messy, a real bait and switch. Yeah, it's sort of not how you treat filmmakers and stars and people who these guys have given a lot for their projects. They deserve to be consulted and spoken to about what was going to happen to their work. Long term, I think all of the studios know that the movie theater experience will bounce back and be a very important part of the ecosystem long term. What you have right now in our business is a lot of people using the pandemic as an excuse for sort of grappling for short term advantage. It's really unfortunate. It's not the way to do business, and it's not the best thing for the health of our industry. But when the theaters are back and people are back to the movies and the vaccine has been rolled out and there's appropriate health response from the federal government, I'm very bullish about the long-term prospects of the industry. People love going to the movies, and they're going to get to go again.
Most of
Yeah,
that is true.
sure.
They're not fledgling. The
Correct.
streaming services are not fledgling, and
Correct.
a lot of my problem with the outlook of people like Christopher Nolan is that it's not just that they value the theater going experience. They don't like streaming. They don't like
Yeah.
that people watch films on their computers and their phones.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I understand that totally, and I would feel the same way.
Yeah.
But you know, my grandfather didn't like people with blue hair, and
Sure.
guess what? People got
Right.
blue hair all over the place.
Well, I think and here's the big question, and where you come down on this, I think, has a lot to do with how you view film as an art form, and whether like how disposable
Right.
you believe it to be, right? So people like Christopher Nolan really espouses like this high view of film as art, and so to him it would be like saying, okay, this painter sat down in front of a canvas, and the canvas is 12 feet by 12 feet. They painted this thing, and then somebody came in and reduced it down to 5 inches by 5 inches and gave it to you to view, right? And then the question is that how the artist intended for the work to be displayed?
Right.
And the answer is obviously no. And so the people like Denis Villeneuve or even Christopher Nolan himself with Tenet intended for these films to be viewed on a large screen, and now that's being taken away. And theoretically, with the opportunity to have some sort of say in how this is presented, right? Like you must set your Dolby processor to such and such a volume,
Right.
and all of these things because of how I mixed it and whatever. And to take that completely away, I think is where these filmmakers get their panties ruffled. But here's the problem.
They're knickers, Dustin. He's
they're
British.
knickers. Yes. But here's the other problem. You can say all day long, Denis Villeneuve and, did he intend for blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
The question then is it Denis Villeneuve's film or is it Warner Brothers' film?
Right.
And if it is Denis Villeneuve's film, then sure, he needs to be consulted and he needs to have the final say.
Right.
But if it's WB's film, then they have the final say. And the question is, who pays who?
And that's the unfortunate thing is it is not his film. It
Right,
is
it's-
it's
that's
something
where
he's in charge of, and he gets to put his name on, and he gets to decide creatively stuff about it. But at the end of the day, the film is financed by these monopoly investors and the studio, And at the end, and it is that's why he can't just take it and go give it to whoever he wants or whatever. Like that's why Denis Villeneuve could get in trouble for selling his own film to people, because it's not his film to sell. You know,
exactly.
He's not the one who files the lawsuit
world,
in copyright infringement. If I were to use some of their trailer right now on the YouTube part of this show, it's not a copyright claim from Denis Villeneuve. It's Warner Brothers, and I assure you, I shit you not, they are like white on rice with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, and that's the truth. Like, that's where the metaphor falls apart about the painter who sits down with his 12x12 canvas and paints this beautiful piece. He's not being bankrolled by anybody.
Right.
He sat down, but if
he's taking all the risk.
If somebody commissioned him and said, "Look, here's the canvas. I bought the canvas. I want to buy your time.
I will pay
this thing for me.
I'll pay for all the paint. You know, pick your paint. Pick the pick what you want to paint. Or let's agree beforehand what you're going to paint. Now you pick all the materials you want. Pick the brushes. Pick the paint you want. You know, if you want to have some weird coffee while you do it, we'll pay for that too. Whatever.
Yeah,
but
that's fine. But then at the end of the day, whose painting is it?
When we sell the painting, we'll give you like 10% of the painting, but we're going to keep the rest.
Right, exactly. Like, we're going to mass produce the painting. Right. We're going to make copies, and we're going to send them out.
And we'll tell people that you painted it.
Yes, correct. That it is your thing, and it can go on your resume and your reel, and that's great. But it is our film.
It's your creation. It's our property.
Correct. And so that's where the metaphor breaks down. But so I understand both sides of the equation, right? Christopher Nolan's looking out for the filmmaker, but the bottom line is it doesn't belong to the filmmaker. It belongs to the financier. And so then when you have like I completely see the other side of it too, right? Where you want to look out for the filmmaker and say, well, but they weren't consulted and they didn't know, and shouldn't they have some say, and it's not how they intended. And artistically, yes, you should go with what the director wants, like how it should be displayed and how it should be received by an audience. Ideally, the director should have the final say in that, but that's not always how it works. And so anyway, I can see it from all the different angles. But the bottom line is the angle that matters the most to me at this particular juncture is that on Christmas Day, I'll be watching Wonder Woman. And otherwise I wouldn't be able to do that. And so, and I might have to wait another year to do it. So, anyway, it's just one of those things, and we'll see how it all shakes out. But you're right. You used the word short-sighted earlier. It's like they didn't really consult anybody. They didn't really talk it through. They didn't think through what ramifications this would have. And that's true. Yeah, man. So I don't know. We'll see how it all shakes out. But I'm excited. I mean, I again, as a consumer, great.
Yeah. I wanted to, well, no, I'll save this for the end of the show if we have time. Okay. I will say this. We're going to go ahead and go to the break.
Yeah.
So, we do want to mention to people that, you can follow the show in all sorts of ways. I didn't say this at the top of the show because we had kind of like a soft open there. But you can follow the show on Patreon, Spotify, iTunes, First Half on YouTube. So any way you want to support the show, there are lots of ways to do it. Tell you more about it after the break. But for now, that's going to be the first half. So when we come back, we're going to talk about an HBO Max, a film on HBO Max right now, When Harry Met Sally. And we're going to talk about a Christopher Nolan film that I think is a 5-star film, and that would be The Prestige.
Okay, great.
So when we come back, those movies. Be right back with the HooperCast Movie Hour.